All right. So, and this is related to the question that was just asked. How do we then start thinking about resilience holistically and applying it to the realities that we live in? So resilience is really underpinned by the concept of systems thinking. So systems thinking is a way of looking at the bigger picture. So instead of focusing on just one piece of a problem, we talk more about understanding how different parts work together. So if we think about our body, right, our body is a system in itself. So we have infrastructure like our skeleton and our skin and hair and veins. We have institutions like our hearts and our kidneys that supply needed direction. And then, of course, there are information systems like the brain, the nerves, and the senses. And our systems really, so we have systems of processes and practices such as our diet, our sleep, our exercises. These all affect our reflexes, our energy, and of course, our immune system, our capacity to withstand diseases and bounce back better from accidents. So all of these interact and influence each other. So systems thinking is really seeing how our body as a system works together and how each component can be impacted and how a change in one component can impact the other. This perception also applies to our communities and our cities and the society that we live in. So taking a holistic approach to urban resilience and resilience thinking as a whole means looking at our society, our communities, our cities as complex systems or as one complex system that is made out of different mini systems within it. So the concept of systems and resilience, particularly in the urban context, focuses on understanding cities as complex independent systems comprising of various components like physical assets such as buildings, roads, parks, water mains, grids, healthcare systems, businesses, and then process-based assets such as laws, our community cooperation and collaboration, standards, and information sharing systems. So these components are not isolated, they interact and depend on each other, making the notion of interdependencies critical to resilience thinking. So for instance, if we look at public transportation systems, they depend on infrastructure, which then relies on governance for effective policy and resource allocation, and then which are then influenced by societal and environmental factors like floods, as we discussed, can impact our transport infrastructure. Unrest can impact that, where people could damage them, and then the disruption of one system, right, can cascade and affect others. So I want to ask you, just from your experience, what system do you think is more critical to invest in when building resilience and addressing shocks and stresses? So you'll see a poll that will come up on your screen. Please let us know. Do you think about water? Do you think more about energy, food, transport systems, laws and regulations, health? Do you think about all of them? All right. So from the results, we can see that a majority of those who answered said all of them, and in addition to the systems listed here, are really critical for building resilience. And I agree, although there are certain systems we might want to focus a lot on because they are more vulnerable, we really need to look at the broader ecosystem. For instance, again, in the city I live in Addis Ababa, water is a big issue that we have to deal with. And I see water being the second biggest response from everyone. And really it underpins a lot of what we're able to do because we really rely on very unstable sources of water. And we really need to think about how we diversify and protect our water systems. But really a lot of the answers are right. We really need to think about all of the systems and how they are really interconnected with one another. For instance, if we take the energy system, right, it underpins our economy because if we have power cuts, it impacts business activities, industries, government offices and processes, reducing competitiveness and slowing down the economy. It can also, disruptions in the energy can impact transport systems. So railway systems and electric vehicles can be impacted by that, but also traffic lights, which depend on electricity systems, and then that can lead to traffic accidents. And food security, energy really impacts cold chain storage and refrigeration. So disruptions there then means that we have limited access to food quality could decrease, and then that could lead to disease outbreak, safety and security, so lack of sufficient public lighting, and also like lights at home could make us more susceptible to burglary and armed robberies. Of course, our health systems really rely on that, on energy to provide the services they need, but also there could lead to disruptions in energy, could lead to wastage and contamination of medicines and vaccines, which are really critical for our healthcare, or for our public health. Water and sanitation systems rely on electricity to run their pumps. So power failures can lead to treatment plants being shut down, sewage leaking, water cuts, water quality problems. And then, of course, like waste systems alternatively can actually impact positively the energy system by generating alternative sources of energy. So all systems are really interconnected in this way, and they're all equally essential to our resilience. So then what do we mean if we want to build resilience and our societies are built off of these systems? What are the qualities of a resilient system? A resilient system is one that not only withstands and responds to challenges, but also adapts effectively to bounce back stronger after difficult times, and is able to thrive during favorable conditions. Extensive research has been done that identified 7 key qualities that characterize resilience, which are robustness, redundancy, resourcefulness, reflectiveness, flexibility, inclusiveness, and integration or integrated planning. These qualities collectively form the backbone of resilience. So each quality plays a critical role in ensuring that a city, towns, communities, societies can manage and recover from the shocks and stresses they fear. So for instance, being robust means ensuring systems have the strength against disturbances. So if we look at cities, buildings, bridges, roads, and so on are being designed to withstand certain shocks like earthquakes, floods, or other natural disasters by using stronger materials and ensuring regular maintenance so that they don't fail during tough times. Redundancy means there is an alternative pathway for continuing functioning in times of crises. So a city can have multiple water resources such as reservoirs and groundwater. So if there is an extensive drought that happens, then the city doesn't actually run out of water. It has backup it can rely on. Resourcefulness means enabling effective use of available resources during disruptions, which that we are all faced with limited resources and addressing a lot of the challenges we deal with. But resourcefulness means really understanding how to effectively use them. So during the power outage, cities can redistribute some of their power grids to really supply the critical things that are needed to withstand and go like hospitals and water treatment plants, so that they're protected and can continue serving people. Reflectiveness means ensuring timely reaction to threats, but also learning from previous events and previous challenges to do better. So a city that experiences a devastating earthquake can really use that as an opportunity to build back better. The flexibility means allowing a system to adapt to new challenges. So going back to the question before, we talked about how even more well-resourced cities are being impacted by climate change because they're kind of designed in very rigid ways that are not flexible enough to withstand the impacts of, for instance, increasing water events like increasing rains or sea level rise. But flexibility allows for a city to be able to manage these issues because it's more adaptive to conditions. Inclusiveness, of course, means ensuring diverse perspectives and needs are being considered in the planning processes. So a city can involve vulnerable communities in decision-making processes for a development that is happening, ensuring that investments address specific needs that are being experienced by vulnerable communities. And then lastly, of course, integration. So integration means creating a cohesive and holistic strategies that connect different urban systems so that investments are cognizant of the realities on the ground. So by embodying these qualities into our systems, we can create environments that are not only prepared for today's challenges, but are adaptable for future uncertainties. They're able to learn and act and withstand shocks and stresses while using alternative strategies to facilitate rapid recovery. And they're planned to take into account the needs of many different stakeholders and actors, and they promote coordinated actions. So I want to ask you a question. Which quality of a resilient system resonates most with you? You'll see a poll appear on your screen. Please let me know, and then also just share in the chats why you've selected this, any of these qualities. As the poll is going, I see a question in the chat. So in light of ongoing conflict in Sudan, what challenges do Sudanese cities face in applying urban resilience principles? Are there any current efforts to strengthen community resilience despite these difficult circumstances? Thank you for that question. The biggest challenge cities that are in active conflict face is the challenge of governance. Because a lot of the work that needs to be done really needs to be done by, and of course, communities and social groups and other partners are a part of this work, but they need to be really embodied and led by city governments and regional governments that are responsible for their people. In times of such conflicts as that is happening in Sudan, these do not function the same way. They're disrupted, they've been destroyed, physical assets have been lost. And so it's really difficult to think about resilience building when you don't have the systems that can enable you to do that. Are there any current efforts to strengthen community resilience despite these difficult circumstances? I don't know a lot about urban resilience work in Sudan. I know there has been a lot of mutual aid and support that has been happening. So people supporting each other globally, people raising funds to ensure that people are able to at least survive and access food and water and the very basic things that they need that they're not able to access. But really in terms of planning for that, unless you've planned before, even when in the case where you've planned for conflict, you could lose a lot of your assets, and it becomes extremely difficult to do these things and to think about resilience in the way we're talking about it when conflict is at bay. All right, I see I can end the poll. I hope that answers the question. And you can see in the results that a lot of people said resourcefulness is a quality that is really essential. Does anyone want to say anything about why that is the case? Why resourcefulness? I also see inclusiveness, integration, and flexibility being a part of that. Does anyone want to say? Okay, I see someone. Pushapa, do you wanna answer or give a reflection?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi. So I felt resourcefulness is the main thing to actually focus on, is because at least you can use resourcefulness to redirect if you're faced with a certain problem. And that also enables you to get back on your ground much faster compared to other aspects. That's what I felt, and that's why I chose resourcefulness.
Thank you so much. And I think it doesn't have to be a one or the other. I just wanted to see what people related most with, but I relate with resourcefulness also because in the context that a lot of the cities and towns and people we're working with in SAFE4ALL, there is very limited resources to begin with. So we have to really think about how we can stretch those resources, how we can be flexible in applying them, so that, like, as you said, in times of crisis, we really know what to do and use our internal, we're not waiting for a big rescuer. And this will also go to the concept of co-benefits or multipliers that I'll share in a bit.